Hello everyone, how y'all doing? So I'm recording this video because there's this controversy that I've been seeing people talk about, which is basically related to some new DRM. Presumably this was, I'm not entirely sure as to whether or not this was intentional because, I'll get to which post is it? This right here. I'm gonna get to that in a moment, but basically people have been talking about this where presumably there's been this sort of like timer that has been applied to digital games that you buy on PlayStation where the timer seems to be 30 days, and within these 30 days you're, I guess, essentially allowed to play the game without having to be connected to the internet. But once those 30 days have passed, then you essentially have to validate your ownership of the game, which does involve you having to connect to the internet. And the thing is, I'm seeing a lot of people that are very rightfully upset about this because it essentially makes your console very dependent on the internet. But I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm genuinely surprised people are even like opening their eyes about this, because this issue right here, like this problem right here that you're seeing right now, is the very reason for why I keep telling people do not buy digital games. Because when you buy a digital game, and I don't know, and honestly, over time, I'm starting to realize that I think this is genuinely how people think, where a lot of people will buy a PlayStation console. You'll ask them to sign in, and people will either create an account or sign into their existing account, and then they'll buy a game. And I think to a lot of people's mind, they just think that you buy the game, you install the console, and it's that. You don't have to worry about a single thing ever in your entire life. It's like, no, you do have to worry, because when you buy a game from the PlayStation Store, that game is tied to your account. How PlayStation verifies that you have the license to play the game is through verifying your purchase that you made on the account. And so if you think that you're gonna buy any game from the PlayStation Store and you do not need to ever connect to the internet, think about it. How did you buy this game in the first place? You bought it through the internet. What is that game associated with? With your account, your online account. And so regardless if it's 30 days, 60 days, or whatnot, at some point, don't be surprised if your console ends up getting triggered and you suddenly have to verify your ownership of the account. There's a reason for why, PlayStation consoles have this feature where you have to restore licenses, stuff like that, because stuff like that can happen. Like, you could wake up one day and suddenly you see a padlock on a game that's installed on your console, because again, your games are permanently tied to a server. Every single game that you buy, like, we're not talking about GOG, like, we're not talking about like a store like GOG where you buy a game and the entire point of GOG is the fact that you're buying games and they all have essentially no DRM. Like, you buy them, you can archive them, like, you can literally take the build of the game, you can copy to a USB, you can take that USB, you can connect it to a different computer regardless if it's yours or not, copy those same game files, copy the computer, you launch them. It will never ask you, not even a single goddamn time, if you own the game, if you own the account that owned that game. It will never ask you ever. But that's not most services. Most services, they have that dependency, because that's essentially their strategy for preventing people from just endlessly copying. Like this DRM, for example, I would not be surprised if the reason why this exists is because of things like console sharing, which is something that happens a lot with PlayStation. Like, there's an entire market of people that will essentially just rent their accounts, and they'll sign in as a different user. They'll sign into that game, to that account, and then they'll set up as primary. And then after that, they will install whatever game they want without ever having bought that game. The game will be installed on the console because it's set up as primary. It will never ask you if you own that game or not. This is a thing that that people do often. Like, there's an entire market of console sharing. I genuinely would not be surprised if this is the reason why this happens, is to prevent stuff like that. And personally speaking, I think this type of DRM is completely insane, especially if you're buying, for example, a single player game. Like, any single player game having any dependency to the internet is insane. But again, this is what happens when you buy digital games, which is why I tell people, do not buy digital games, because you are always going to be beholden to the vendor. You're always going to be beholden to PlayStation. Buy physical games. If you buy a physical game, this isn't an issue. You don't have to worry about this 30 days. And like I even I saw this post here, for example, it feels very similar to the thing Xbox was rightfully slandered during the Xbox One reveal. It's not even the same thing. Like what Xbox was doing in 2012, 2013 was actually way worse than this. Like first of all, it wasn't even 30 days, it was actually 24 hours. And this was applying to physical games. It wasn't even just digital games. If it was digital games, that would be one thing. They were applying this to even physical copies. Their mission was actually to completely kill off the used games market. This right here, what I think they're really trying to kill off is more so the console sharing market. But regardless, the solution is very simple: buy physical copies. Personally speaking, I saw this news and I just fucking laughed because I was just like, yeah, this is dumb. Thank God I never have to fucking worry about this because I stopped buying games on the PlayStation Store. There's no reason to do that. Like me constantly having to be tied to the PlayStation servers every single goddamn time. Every time they want to deploy any type of like anti-circumvention, anti-piracy measures, I don't have to worry about that. Like I just have to worry about whether or not my physical copy still works. That's the only thing I have to care. And and obviously, me telling people to buy physical copies, there's always going to be pushback from people that will say things like, oh, there's no point in buying physical copies. You don't own physical copies. Like they're essentially just placeholders. You're just buying a code to play the game. Which, look, I'm not gonna argue with these people. Like I feel like I've already drilled this point over and over again. How this is completely not true for the vast majority of games. I don't have time to argue about this in this video. Every time I get this comment, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna link that one video that I uploaded a couple of weeks ago, where I essentially disproved this entire nonsense of just physical games having no games in there, and it's just a key to play the game. I'm just gonna link that video, and afterwards, if they want to argue with what I show in that video, good fucking luck. But like at this point, I'm done arguing with people. Like this is an argument that I've been having for years, and at some point it just becomes exhausting. Like because a lot of the times this tends to come from people that probably don't even buy physical copies, and when they do buy physical copies, they probably have the console connected to the internet, so they'll just put the disc on the console. They'll see that there's an update that's queued for download, as well as the game actually installing on the console, and they'll think that that's the same thing as the console saying, yeah, in order to play this game, you have to download a file from the internet. Like those kinds of people, there's no reason to debate them because they clearly do not know what they're talking about. So I'm just gonna link that video and just leave it as it is. Now, sometimes I will also get pushback from people that are like primarily PC users. They'll try to like deflect the point. I'm just like, listen, if you're a PC user, I'm obviously not talking to you. You don't have a choice. Like you have to buy digital games. I'm not telling you to stop buying digital games. Like I buy digital games on PC because I also do not have a choice. I want to play games on PC. If the only storefront that I can buy games is either Steam or Epic, mostly Steam, then fine, whatever. I'll buy it there. I'm not talking to you, obviously. I'm talking about people that buy games on the PlayStation Store, on the Microsoft Store, on the eShop. These are the people that I'm telling them, don't buy games from the stores because you still have a much better alternative, which is to buy physical copies. Because again, with physical copies, of course, with the exception of games where they do have some kind of online requirements, like for example, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resync or whatever, Ubisoft is telling you they have to like do some initial connection. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna buy that game because like if I have to rely on their servers to play a goddamn single player game, why the hell would I even bother buying that game? I mean, I'm not even really interested in buying that game anyway because like I can just play the original Black Flag. So I genuinely see no reason to buy that anyway. But even then, like, dude, if I have to rely on some kind of initial, I don't care if it's one time, I don't care if it's two times, I don't care if it's occasionally. If there's any online dependency with a physical copy that I bought with my own money and it's a single player game, I have absolutely zero reason to buy that game at all. And I don't buy those games. And I tell people that's a terrible deal. And I tell the publisher, you're terrible people for creating this dependency in the first place. And so, so yeah, like, but beyond that, like a lot of the physical copies that you buy, this issue right here wouldn't even be a problem in the first place. Now, I did see a post. Apparently, the folks that does it play, they got like a insider that said that this was actually unintentional. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I just don't care because honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if this was unintentional. It doesn't matter if they're even going to fix this because again, your games are tied to the PlayStation Store that are run by PlayStation servers. It doesn't matter if it's going to take 30 days, 60 days, however long it takes. Eventually, at some point, something is gonna trigger your console to ask you to sign in if you want to play those games. This is inevitable. Like this isn't some like one-time thing, one-time bump. This is going to happen at some point. You're buying games that are tied to your account. If you don't want to have any dependency on the internet, stop buying games from the PlayStation Store. If you don't want to constantly rely on your ability to, and I've seen this a lot, like I'm genuinely surprised by people that'll they'll just create a PlayStation account and they'll just not have a care in the world. Like they could suddenly lose their email, forget their password, forget their recovery options, and they'll just think, oh yeah, like this isn't gonna be an issue. Like, bro, you realize that your ability to play those games are tied to your ability to sign into your account. If there's a possibility that you're not going to be able to do this forever, if there's something that is preventing you, whether it's your ability to access the account, your ability to connect to the internet, PlayStation's ability to connect to the internet, if these are things that worry you, stop buying games from the PlayStation Store. Because I'm telling you right now, like these companies, like their entire goal is to make you dependent on the internet. They're not gonna create solutions that are gonna be convenient to you if you don't want to always connect to the internet. Like, I mean, just think of, for example, I know for a fact that the PlayStation 6 is probably gonna have that stupid online key registration of the disk drive, which is one of the main reasons for why I'm honestly probably not even gonna bother buying the PS6 if it's still going to have that horrible online key registration they have to do with a disk drive. But beyond that, like that's not even really my main issue. Like think of, for example, the PlayStation, like the rumored PlayStation Portable, like the sequel to the Vita. That's, I've been seeing, I've been seeing the leaks, I've been seeing the rumors, and I do personally believe that this is probably true. But here's the thing, though. Why I see no reason to buy the next generation of PlayStation Portable if, for example, it's digital only. If you don't have the option to buy games from, for example, like physical cartridges like they used to do back in the PS Vita days, if the only way you can play these games is to sign into your account, and that's the only way, because if this portable device is meant to sort of be like a similar to the Steam Deck, where you just sync your entire library of PlayStations, and like assuming you have like backwards compatibility with PS4, 5, and 6 games, which that sounds good on paper, and hey, if it's able to do that, that's cool. But if that's the only way for you to play games there, why the fuck would I bother buying this? You're telling me I have to constantly depend on on my ability to sign into your account? A lot of the games that I've been buying for the past couple of years, I'm not even buying on my PlayStation account. So what would I use this for? To play the few games that I still have on my account that I bought over the years that I may not even be interested in playing? Why the fuck would I do that? Like you're essentially just telling me I have to if I have to continue to buy games on your PlayStation Store. I have to continue to become dependent to an online connection, to your online servers. I don't want to do that, because this is what happens. This is what ends up happening if you constantly make me dependent on the servers, is that you end up creating these arbitrary DRM checks, meaning that I have to constantly, like, even if it's not constantly, I have to eventually be connected to the internet. And if I have a portable device, like, I don't want to constantly have that thing connected to the internet. Like, what if I'm traveling or something like that? Like, this is what I mean when I say stop buying games on this PlayStation Store. Stop buying games from the Microsoft Store. Stop buying games from the eShop. If this possibility, if this issue of 30 days genuinely bothers you, do not buy games from the PlayStation Store. Like, we need to start having the right conversations. Like, we need to stop talking about whether or not, oh, this 30-day thing, is it going to be fixed or something like that. This is not the conversation we should be having. The real conversation we should be having is, let's stop buying games from the PlayStation Store. At this point, with all of the issues that we've been seeing throughout the past couple of years, like all of the times PlayStation and Xbox has had server outages and people were unable to play their games for like an entire weekend in some instances. After all of this has happened, like after all of the controversies with the crew shutting down their servers, which that's a bit of a different issue, but it highlights the whole online only requirement, where they shut down the servers, people are now unable to play the crew. Like, this essentially had to be pushed to the EU Commission. Now there's an entire campaign with Stop Killing Games and stuff like that. Like, over the past couple of years, we've been seeing time and time again, constantly being dependent on the online servers of all of these video game vendors is a bad thing. So right now, what we should really be doing is looking for solutions where we don't have to constantly be dependent on their servers. And right now, we do have a solution to that. It's buying physical media, at least with consoles. Not with PC. Let me reiterate. Physical media is dead on PC. I'm not telling you to buy physical media if you're primarily a PC game. Like, you have other issues. I'm talking about people that primarily play games on PlayStation and Nintendo, whatever. Buy physical copies. And again, like, if you're one of those people that think that physical copies are pointless because you're just buying a key, again, watch my video. Like, watch the video that I uploaded weeks ago. Like, you'd be surprised by how many games are very much playable even if you don't download a single shit from the online PlayStation servers. Now, the other thing is convenience and space in your room. It's like, oh, you know, with physical copies, I have to constantly swap out the disc. I have to constantly insert it on the console in order to, and I'm just like, bro, if you think that is like, let's think about this logically. To you, what is more convenient? Being able to play the game whenever you want without ever being connected to a single server, you know, for so many years as long as the disc still works. Like, do you think that is less convenient than having a solution that is completely dependent on PlayStation's servers, meaning that if there are outages, if you don't have connection to the internet, then you're essentially locked out of playing your game. You have to constantly be able to connect to your PlayStation account at all times. So if you lose access to the account, if there's something that's preventing you from gaining access to the account, your ability to play your games is also going to be locked out. You're not going to be able to authenticate your account. Does that sound more convenient to you than just simply swapping out the disc? Like, think about this logically. Like, genuinely speaking, take a step back and really think about what you're saying right now. Do you seriously think that being constantly dependent on all of these arbitrary online dependencies is more convenient than just simply swapping the disc on your console? Really think about that. Now, you know, if we're talking about like space on your house, that I think that's fair. That's a fair point to make. You know, not everyone has. I mean, right now, like I buy physical copies, and pretty much the only place I have to like put all my physical copies is my room. And yes, like I do have to worry about space. That's a completely fair. Personally speaking, I don't know like how much of an issue this actually is because like I don't know, I'm not buying every single game that comes out, so maybe to me that's not really an issue. But other people, maybe they do have to worry about space. But like I don't know, personally speaking, I feel like I'm much more willing to, you know, make some space in my house than having to constantly be dependent on my account to always be connected. But that's just my perspective. I'm gonna say this before and I'll say this again. Stop buying games from PlayStation Store. If you're gonna buy games for PlayStation, buy physical media. Just stop with this. Like, this needs to stop. Like, we need to end this culture of buying games from the PlayStation Store. It's not worth it. You're constantly being beholden to PlayStation. At some point, we need to fucking wake up and realize that there's a much superior solution, which is this.